What up, what up, what up? Y'all know what it is. It's another episode of Why Trust the Bus Driver. Your man, Big Pheez. I'm coming to you live right here from my hometown, Washington, D.C. You know, I travel all over the country and talk to my industry friends, people that I have relationships with in this industry, people that I've built relationships with in this industry over the last 10 years. And today, this is an honor, bro. I'm talking to what I consider the pioneer of music coming out of the District of Columbia. You understand what I'm telling you? This dude went mainstream when mainstream wasn't even possible for nobody in the city. But he was doing it, and he did it big. I'm talking to the legendary producer, Chucky Thompson. Chuck, what up, baby? Chuck Light.
I love that. I love that bus driver line.
Oh yeah, you know, I got to put it in there. I got to put it in there,
That's
man.
What's up.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to have this conversation because, you know, me being a historian of music and coming out of the District of Columbia, you was the first person, literally the first person, to really take it to the next level. Like had the balls to take it to the next level. You know what I mean? I saw my first time I saw you was Go Live '87, okay. Smacking the Congos for Chuck, and then the next time I see you were Bad Boy. So how did it all start? Like, what made you say, you know what, I got to take this bigger than Go Go?
Well, I'm gonna have to fly you a little bit, you know, back in the conversation where, you know, Chuck was really the one for me to show that coming from the city, you can, you know, kind of conquer the world when he did it with Busta Loose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, here's a local guy, #1 record in the country. You know what I'm saying? So being able to play with him actually gave me an outlook beyond the city, you know, at the time because, you know, Go-Go was out, you know, and it still is. It's just the sound of the city. You know, but it's other things that were bubbling right around us. Hip-hop was happening right up the street in New York. At that time, I was, just coming out of high school. And, you know, I was listening to, you know, people like Frank Ski, who was playing music coming straight from Baltimore. You know what I mean? He was broadcasting from Baltimore. So I started getting hip to what was happening in the hip-hop scene. But I always had my, you know, I guess, you know, just my grounding with Go-Go. And, you know, the opportunity presented itself with me to be able to work with Puff when he first was just in the beginning stages of creating his company. And I sought him after management, you know what I mean? He heard some of the stuff that I was doing. I actually was, you know, brand new in the game, just trying to figure it out. And I didn't realize that I was helping to create hip-hop and R&B. I loved hip-hop, but me playing all these instruments coming from the city, it's like I started incorporating them together, you know, doing the hip-hop beats and just adding the melodies. And I mean, at that time, Mary was new. She just came out with the 411 album. And I just, for some reason, I just felt like that's where I needed to be, was with Puff. A lot of people in this area didn't really understand who he was. A couple of people knew exactly who he was. And I got introduced to him.
So for you, Chuck Brown was it when you saw him with Bustin' Loose. And then you hooked up.
Chuck Brown was it.
Yeah. Period.
Like, I mean, to his dying day, this dude had a 94-year-old lady coming to see him. But then he also had 18-year-olds coming to see him. So that wide range, you know, is something that I always wanted to, you know, mimic or, you know, find a formula for. Chuck used to always say that, you know, when you hang with the kids, when you keep youth around you, that's the fountain of youth. You know what I mean?
So when did you start messing around with music? When did you start saying, you know what, I want to be a producer. I want to make music. Like, what was it? What was it that made you start messing around in the studio?
I didn't understand the whole God gifts thing as a kid, you know, but I was pretty much a kid that could hear an instrument or hear a sound. And I mean, I never played a guitar in my life, but I picked it up and I just started playing it. You know what I'm saying? I picked up the drums the same way. And then, you know, music at that particular time in my life was a little bit more mature. You know, the Isley Brothers, Parliament Funkadelic and things like that. But then I had a cousin of mine, and he basically was the one that let me hear like Rare Essence. So now I'm listening to what I would hear on records but I'm hearing it in a whole nother way. Like, what is this? This is, I mean, I'm, what, 10 or 11, and this is the funkiest thing I've ever heard. I mean, I've listened to Parliament, I've listened to, you know, some of the funkiest groups in the world, but yet Rare Essence is the funkiest thing I've ever heard. And I got hit, and it just took me away. I found out who the players were. I found out the whole situation with Go-Go. You know, I was actually at a Go-Go at the Howard Theater in the 6th grade. Like, what am I doing in there?
Yeah.
But a couple of older friends of mine, they were like, you gotta see them. You have to see this.
Yeah.
So me seeing that and seeing how James Funk and Foots pretty much put that whole situation together. Because I got introduced to Rare Essence before I really got introduced to Chuck. I heard Bustin' Loose and I knew it was something different, it was funky, but I didn't make the connection to the city until I heard about Rare Essence, and I realized that they got their influences from Chuck. So, you know, all of those things happened, and then I realized, okay, playing music and being a musician is one thing. Being a producer is basically taking all of those things and incorporating them, and basically you start to understand song structure and arrangements and things like that. So I would never listen to records where I would listen to the whole record. I would listen to the record and just listen to the drums. I would just listen to the bass.
Oh, okay.
And I could mimic each part, but I never focused on the arrangements. A good friend of mine, this guy named Andre Johnson, was actually from Brooklyn, you know, so I got hip to what New York and what all of that was about through him. But he sat me down and said, yo, you need to start to focus on arrangement. And he played Ecstasy, the Barry White record. And if you ever listen to that song and you hear how it starts, and that's when I understood arrangement. And then from that day on, I learned song structure. I took the top 10 records off the Billboard, and I just took, you know, why are these records at the top 10? What's the connection? And it was basically the song structure. It's a certain amount of bars for intro, it's a certain amount of bars for verse, a certain amount of bars for chorus, and they all coming in at the same time. So I sat and basically counted out each part of those songs, and that's when I got connected to how hits are constructed. You know.
Do you remember your first track that you made? Do you still have it?
Well, so the first actual major label situation that I had was with the Born Americans.
I remember them.
It's a song I did called Boom Shock Attack.
Yeah.
So that was like 93. But right before that, I did work with a girl named Nefertiti, and she was signed to Mercury. That record wasn't really like a hit, but that Born Americans record, like, I helped them get their deal. It was crazy. I was doing music out of my basement. They used to come and pay the little basement fees I had, and they basically took what we did, and got signed to Delicious Vinyl.
Man, I remember the Born Americans. I remember that.
Norman and Adley, man. Shout out, Joe.
Yeah. So now, you know, fast forwarding.
You mind if I?
Of course. Go ahead, get busy, baby. You know what I mean? Nori ain't the only one that can drink on this show. You know? But so as far as the Bad Boy situation, like, how did you feel, like, being a DC native, actually making it and running with Puff, and actually being very instrumental in the success of the most popular label of the 90s, knowing that you were a very intricate part of that?
You know what's crazy, man? You know, I understood Puff, and he understood me. It was just the craziest thing, because, you know, we had a talk in the very beginning, and he was like, look, man, you know, what do you want out of this? And in my brain, and just the way I was living at the time, I'm more of a musician. I'm more for the music. So I was like, you know, I want to be known for the music. And he was like, you know, I want a sound. You know, I'm in it for a sound. So when you look at Berry Gordy and you look at Motown, you know, that's a sound. When you look at Bad Boy, that's a sound. You know what I mean? But me, myself, personally, I never wanted a sound. I never wanted you to know it was me. I always wanted you to scratch your head and be like, hey, who did that? He did that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I think I caught you with that.
Yeah. Because
you know
I just, like, out of all the songs you produced, I never knew you produced one Mike Nas. And that's one of my favorite, that's one of my top 5.
Shout out to Nas, Nasir.
I was like, I called E, I was like, E, Chucky produced one Mike.
Well, that was a collaborative effort. You know, that man pretty much knows what he wants. You know what I'm saying? You can listen to how he constructs his rhymes. Mm-hmm. It's always, you know, thought out. It's a plan with that. So he sought me out. Like, he looked for me to come and make something with him. You know what I mean? Now, one Mike wasn't in the talks when we first met. I sent him a couple songs, and I never heard back from him. You know what I'm saying? From those songs. And then he just ups and calls. He's like, look, I want to sit down with you. So we went in the studio. He kind of gave me the idea for what he had, which is basically, you know, Nas is thought out. So he's like, look, most records, the chorus is loud, and the verses, let's switch that around. Yeah. I want the verses to go loud, and then the chorus to be quiet.
Yeah, that was legendary, though.
And we, you know, it was fun, man, because it's like, when you're working with somebody as artistic as him, you know, it's good to be off the grid, you know what I mean? And you really got to hold on to what's real. Like, it's no copying anything. There's no blueprint for this. It's just, if you dope enough, you hang, you flip, you know what I'm saying? You're going to make it work, or, you know, or we just going to be set out there, you know what I mean? But it was one of those hit or miss joints. But, I mean, how can you miss with this dude? You know what I mean? And the way he's writing and thinking. You know, and I'm just following the script. I'm just trying to color it in. So
I have this conversation a lot, and I out of all the producers that Puff was using, out of y'all squad that he was using in the '90s, everybody that is in agreement with me that you stood out the most.
I think I stood out first.
But it was like you didn't want to stand out though. You know, like it was like let them have it. It was like you was more like a behind the scenes type dude. But your track stood out the most. I think that you probably was the most special producer out of that clique. With that being said,
well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. With that being said, you work with all the artists on Bad Boy, but the most legendary artist, of course, is Notorious B.I.G. I want to know, what was that first experience like with him, working with him, and how did you feel?
I mean, I heard about Big before I got. That was one of the reasons. There was 2 reasons why I signed the club. Mary J. Blige, Notorious B.I.G., who was Biggie Smalls at the time. Mm-hmm. But for me, with hip hop, like being from DC and hip hop, it didn't really resonate here until that gangster side of rap kicked in. You know what I mean? Because we weren't really like. We were a party town, but the street side of it was different.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with people where they're like, you know, man, DC, y'all got some of the coldest people in the world, but guess what? The coldest dude know how to play an instrument. Mm-hmm. He can play the congos, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we have that, but it's just, you know, meeting Big was one of those things where, you know, he had a feel and understood this city. So even when I signed my papers, he was just like, hey, where you from? I think I had on this like Fila sweatsuit or whatever. And he was like, where'd you get that from? And I was happy. I couldn't wait. I was like, I'm dusting my Georgetown, fool. That's where I got it from. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't wait to let him know. You know what I'm saying? And he just embraced it. And then from there, it was like, we had this big boy thing about us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The big guys, we hang together. We have our own code. Yeah. So that part, along with the fact that I'm from DC, along with, you know, the fact that we both respected each other's barrels. Like, I respect Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? I look at Brooklyn as the heart of New York. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times with me and him, it just was what it was. Like, you know, I met him in the studio, and he didn't say one word to me in the studio. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, when he did meet me, I could tell that he noticed everything about me in that session, and he didn't say nothing. And that's pretty much how we are here in DC. We may not say nothing. That don't mean we don't know. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And that code just, to me, is what cemented a lot of the things that we did together. I almost didn't make Life After Death. Almost didn't make that out until Big pulled me up one day. I'm working on my project that I had signed with Sony, and I'm kind of fading away from a lot of the responsibilities at Bad Boy. But Big had came in one day. I was in Daddy's house, and he sent somebody over to come and get me, just so he could have a conversation with me. Because, like I said, I was separated. So he's like, you know, he just had the accident with the cane and all that. He's like, yo, so wait a minute. You mean to tell me you did one of the biggest records on my last album, but you don't have nothing on this album? You know, he's one of them kind of dudes. Like, how's that looking? Not with everybody else, how's that looking with me? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, you know, I'm just kind of focusing on my thing. He's like, bro, I'm going to be real with you. If you don't make this album, it's going to be some, you know, problems and concerns. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is. So I'm like, cool, man. You know what? Let me see what it is. And Puff played me a lot of the record at the time. And then Story to Tell had a whole other sample in it. You can hear it online. If you go online and type in the original Story to Tell, you will hear the original sample that didn't get cleared. So when he told me that that couldn't clear, and I mean they were closing the album out in a couple of days, that's my end. Let me come in, I'll flip this, and you know, the sad part about it is I flipped it, you know, and I never got a chance to really talk to him about, or just to see if he agreed with. But it made the album, so I guess he did.
Okay.
Regret,
and so so you work with Big. Who did you like working with the most, like on the Bad Boy? Did you like working with everybody, or because it seems like you got some type of serious synergy with Mary J. Blige? You know what I mean? It's like
you know what, man? I have it with everybody that gets it. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't really have a preference over who's better or who's worse, because we just making music and we just being creative. So the creations that I made with Faith are totally different than the creations I made with Mary. It's totally different than the creations I made with Big. You know what I mean? But the connection with us all is that we were young, black, you know, in a synergy that was like up. You know, like all of us are coming up, and we're young and coming up. I think I was like 24, 25 back then. You know what I'm saying? But that's what the vibe was. You know what I mean? It was like, it was this, you know, the 90s brought in this soul thing. It's like they mimicked a lot of the 70s. Just all that 20-year twist to it. You know what I mean? And that was happening, and we were embracing it. You know, when you listen to Snoop's first album, you hear a lot of soulful stuff happening on there. Jermaine Dupri at the time was doing a lot of soulful stuff. You know, and then Big, Puff, like we were all in that energy. And I value that more than anything. It's just that time that we were just young and black and just showing love. It's like God's children all under one roof. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You definitely put your footprints in this business. Here, this city, where we from. I feel like it's a long time overdue for us to have like a really big star. I feel like we need a big star. I feel like in the DMV area, somewhere in this area, I feel like we can have that Beyonce, we have that Drake, we have that somebody here. How do we get them there though?
I mean, you know what? I'm wearing a mask in the interview. Right? So that lets you know it's a lot of things that are different now, just period. So we don't know where it's going to come from. The problem that I've always felt that happens here is we don't support each other. I remember a couple of panels that I sat on. That was one that I sat on with Irv Gotti and a couple other people. And my man Kevin Black was basically like, you know what?
I remember Kevin Black.
Yeah, he's talking and he's like, you know what? It's a lot of dope talent down here. If y'all were able to just pick one and everybody support that one until he cracks, and then we do another one, would be, and that was back in like 2001 or something crazy.
That was at the conference, right?
Yeah, it was at the conference.
I was at the
You
conference.
know what it
I was at the conference.
Right.
Yeah,
And guess
yeah,
what?
it was at the
That was
conference.
probably the realest thing that I heard
that
made sense for what needs to happen. When you look at Atlanta, you look at the things that they've done. I mean, it's not a question why they are where they are.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're here, and this is a joke, that's a running joke, it's like, if I tell you about my artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I finish telling you about my artist, guess what you're doing?
Tell you about my artist.
So it's like, we're always in competition. Whereas...
Ambulance came fast.
Okay, cool. So, like I said, you know, ambulance kind of threw me way out of it. But anyway, man, you know, we always competing with each other.
Yeah.
Like, we never. It's power in a group.
Numbers.
It's a power in that.
Yeah.
It shows so much. It shows that we can come together. It shows that we can do something together.
Mm-hmm.
But when you don't have that, you know, when you got the situations fighting against you, then I mean, the base and the premise is off. You know, that's one side. That's for one situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I always felt also here is like, you know, one thing that I seen people from the outside do here is embrace that whole DMV thing.
Yeah.
You know, but me being from DC, you know, and sometimes it was a point in time I got upset about that. Like, I represent DC, and you really start to look at that. How big is DC? Right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you hear DMV. When you look at that, how big is that?
Yeah.
So it's like, I started to embrace that whole DMV thing.
Yeah.
I represent DC in the DMV.
That's the same way.
But I still represent the DMV because I feel like this is ours.
Yeah.
If you go to the bottom of Virginia and you go to the top of Maryland, they all understand. We all have a code with what we do. We just got to connect it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's to me is how I felt that the South killed it. You know, from one branding phrase, "Dirty South."
Mm-hmm.
You get Nelly on a record with one of the biggest country groups.
Yeah.
Florida Line Cruise.
Georgia, Florida line.
Right there, exactly. Well, look at that.
Yeah.
That one brand created one of the biggest records in country.
I said if I ever get to sit down and talk to you, I gotta ask you this question.
Yeah.
And I hope my man E don't laugh in the background. What happened to Frankie?
Everybody says that.
Where is like
You know what?
But I think that was the dopest R&B album that never made it, bro. Like I was like, what happened to that, bro?
You know what? It's sometimes things line up.
Yeah.
And sometimes they line up a different way. You know what I mean? Me and what I wanted for Frankie wasn't what Frankie wanted for Frankie. But as you know, I'm very ethical in my business. And people would say that it's probably the worst things to be. But I cared more about how he felt about the situation that we're in than me.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute that he felt that he didn't want to do it anymore, that was it for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to push you to do something.
Oh, he didn't want to do music anymore.
He didn't want to do any of that anymore. It's
Dang.
like, you know, not saying that he didn't want to do music anymore. He just didn't want to do that situation where he was forced to do a bunch of things that he just wasn't trying to do. You know, most people look at being an artist, they think they just going to, not to say that this is him, but some people think that that's what it is. You just come in and everything's going to be handed to you and you go to the top of the list and people care about you and everything. That's not it. Where Frankie had people that cared about him. Mm-hmm. He just was, to me, the phone call we had, he was just, you know, in another space. And I respected that, you know.
Okay.
And, I mean, but Frankie's still around. He's a dad now, you know what I mean? He's more of a dad than anything, you know. But he's still around. Y'all may catch him. He's like, where's Waldo? You may find him, you know what I'm saying, in the weirdest places, but he's still around.
The state of music right now, where we are with music now, from, because we come from a different era of hit records than what they consider a hit record now.
Right.
That's just how I feel.
Right.
So, what do you feel about what they think or what they say is a hit record now or a #1 record now than what we know as a record?
So, I mean, as far as where the state of music is today versus what it was, then, I think when you say they, it's always going to be the theys, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be that. We're a part of the theys at some point. And I categorize music in two categories: good, bad. That's just me. And it's just different eras. We had our era. When my mother and them heard Public Enemy for the first time, you remember the first record?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That first record that had that JB's grunt music.
Yeah.
That was crazy to people when they heard that. But somehow it was right on time for us as college students and this and that. So it's just different lifestyles, like frequencies. When you were at school and used to take that hearing test, remember that?
Yeah.
And they start you off with the one first frequency, everybody can hear that. Then the higher the pitch went, determining how old you were, you couldn't hear a certain pitch.
Mm-hmm.
So a pitch may be at a certain level, me and you won't be able to hear it, but bring a 15-year-old in here. He hear it bright as day.
So, do you like the music that's out right now?
I have to, like I said in the beginning, Chuck Brown taught me to stick with the youth, because that's the fountain of youth. If I hang with a 15-year-old for a little bit, not saying I gotta sit at the table and be, but if I kick it with him enough to catch his frequency, guess what I can hear in that hearing test at a certain point?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm kicking it, I'm listening to that frequency. I used to have my sons, when they got in the car, just give them the aux cord and prepare myself for what I was about to hear.
Right.
But I wanted to hear it. I want to hear how crazy it is. I'm still a kid. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
I may got the gray hair and all that, but my lifestyle is still a kid. I like to turn up. I like to hear stuff loud. That's me.
Right.
That's the same thing. It's like the minute that you are at odds with what's happening, you're losing because you can't see the angles.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see the angles. And it may get to a point in time where I don't care about the angles. You know what I mean? I just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So then why would I care if I don't care? And that's what I think. I think the people that don't care. Leave that over there. Let them do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come in their room and try to tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had our time.
Right.
Then we want somebody coming in telling us
not me.
So that's how I look at it. I just look at it as respect. I respect what's happening.
And that's how I felt about it. I literally, because at first I was like, I really wasn't giving it a chance. But then I heard Bryson Tiller.
Okay.
And then I was like, hold up. And then I just started getting into all of it. Like, that shit just came like a tidal wave. And I just started listening to all the youngers. I was like, oh, they got something to say.
But see, I'm going to say this too. Let me fly this in. Old plus old equals old.
Yeah.
Two old niggas making an old beat ain't going to appeal to nobody but some other old joint. You know what I'm saying? Same go on the other side with the youngest. Two young plus young equal young. But the thing that I think that worked good for like Big, and I can speak for him because his records still play today. Michael Jackson and Thriller. That record, you can play that for kids right now. They might not even know who he is. But they're going to react like kids when they hear Beat It.
Yeah.
How does that happen? That record was made in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Because the frequencies are connected. You got old and new.
Mm-hmm.
You got Quincy Jones that represented the older, and Mike was the young perspective. You had all those older records we were using, M2 and all them older records. And you throw Big died at 24.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So he was the young perspective.
Right.
That's why those frequencies still work today. That's why those records lasted this long.
So
I would always tell kids, like my sons, they be playing me songs that I grew up with. How do you know about that? It's on the pack. But they pick the joints they like. Mm-hmm. They know those songs. They know the classic joints. And guess what? That blend and that mix of those two frequencies going to have those records here forever. If it already survived 20 years, why wouldn't it survive another 20 years? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's how I look at it.
So is it any of the younger artists that you would like to work with now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Her is nuts.
Yeah, she's amazing, bro.
She is incredible.
Yeah. Her, I like Summer Walker.
All of them.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. These are the voices of today,
Yeah.
but they coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I always remember hearing that it's not okay. Where music comes from is more important than the music.
Mm-hmm.
So say if you got an influence from Marvin Gaye or just those influences coming from there.
Mm-hmm.
Is more important than the music. Most people would be like, man, that joint sound like a Marvin Gaye joint.
Yeah.
And you got the stamp right there, bam. Just because it sound like a Marvin Gaye joint. Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at these artists, hers, and this, they're coming from somewhere. Her, if you ever go through her record collection, you'll see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Is it anybody that you're targeting right now? Like you're like, I'm making this specific track for this artist because I want to work with them, whether they're old or part of our generation
but
or
it's
young.
probably not something that you would even expect me to say.
No, I'm eclectic.
The
Let me
Foo
know.
Fighters, man.
Oh, bruh, come on, bruh.
That's one place that I would love.
That's my man. We
You know
all.
what I'm saying? Dave Grohl
Yeah.
is like one of my heroes.
Yeah.
Man. You know what I'm saying?
So you work. So have you ever been in contact, or you just?
You know, we got people. It's that close. And then he's been doing a lot of work with Big Tony from Trouble Funk. So, it's getting closer. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Because I've been in conversation with Tony as to say, listen, when that happens, make sure I'm in the room.
Right.
Just so I can kind of be the glue.
So you do have a bucket list.
Yeah.
You do have a bucket list.
Yes, sir.
Let's hear it, baby.
You know what? Some things are better left unsaid. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I like to just show up and you don't know what happened and you scratching your head.
Okay.
But I just gave you one of them. Like one of the top ones definitely is to work with Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters.
Okay, that's dope right there. I love to see that happen. So, don't mute DC.
Right.
That's been a theme of ours now for a couple of years.
Right.
Go going mainstream. What do we need to do? What do we need? I mean, what do we need
to keep doing it? This needs to continue. Half of the reason that anything is successful is the persistence.
Okay. Competitive behavior.
A lot of times we get, if you look at what's happening with the genocide and all that, yeah, we can get upset that certain things are happening, but a lot of people sat on these homes and just never did nothing with them.
Mm-hmm.
Then when somebody come around and buy it and hook it up better than you did, doesn't mean anything. It just means that they saw the value in what you were sitting on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that to happen here.
Yeah.
But then again, guess what? I do want it to happen because I want to see this thing spread out. Like Chuck never created it for it to sit here.
Yeah.
He used to get upset at a lot of the bands because they never, traveled as much. They never did the overseas, and and there was a market for that. Not saying it's not. It's a big market for that.
Yeah. My sister lives in Tokyo. Her husband is in the military. They live in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
They love go-go.
Love it,
bro.
There's no way possible that
they love go-go in Tokyo. I was like, she was like,
to that vibe.
She was like, you would not believe
Yeah.
if you come over here. I said, well, who's in the spots when you go and they playing it? She was like, Asians.
Right.
She was like, it's like 5 black people in a club full of Asians. I was like, well, what type of go-go they playing? She said, they playing everything. I was like, what you mean? Chuck Brown, you hear red asses working the walls, all that. They're playing that in the clubs over here. So I told her to send me a clip. I'm gonna put it in this show right here.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is I toured Japan with Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
But this was maybe '88.
Mm-hmm.
We went over there, and that's when I saw how big it was.
Yeah.
And they have adapted the whole hip hop culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So go-go is a part of that culture. It's a part of hip hop that was go-go at a point.
Yeah.
Like a lot of records were go-go records. But at the end of the Hawaiian Sophie
Mm-hmm.
with Jay-Z and Jet, that's straight go-go.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, it's just I'm ready for it to be. A lot of people don't understand it. If you ask a person, okay, how do you make a hip hop record? At this point in time, they can tell you exactly how. You know what I mean? You put a beat, loop it, you get a mic, rap a couple bars, they go hip hop, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you make a go-go record? Ask somebody from Kansas City to make a go-go record. They don't know where to begin. They don't know what sounds to use. And that's one of the biggest reasons why it's always remained here. Mm-hmm. It's because it's you have to know to reproduce this. You have to know something about it to reproduce it. But hip hop did it early in. It's like I'm just ready to see it move at the same rate that hip hop had moved. In commercials, mm-hmm. Different things happening with it. Because if everybody that's taking a chance on it, won real big with it.
Yeah. Jill Scott.
The one big with it.
Yeah.
But it's just like I said, it's an acquired thing. It's one of those things where you have to come here to see it, which is not a bad thing. It's like to be able to come somewhere and see a music art form still in its truest form, mm-hmm. right? My problem is hip hop. Okay, let's look at R&B. R&B has so many different facets. It's not in the doo-wop phase.
Yeah.
I feel like go-go is still in the doo-wop phase.
Okay.
Let's put it to you like that.
Okay.
But then people appreciate it, evolved. One thing, A. Marie.
Yeah.
That's the evolution of it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that's not from here, when they come or try to go to the go-go, they expect to see that.
Yeah.
And then they come in there and see the
raw.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's like a culture shock
happening.
But I mean, I'm definitely advocating to help to change that.
I really appreciate that because I saw the TV One documentary,
right.
And I felt like it wasn't informative enough for people that's not.
You're from here.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool for the people that weren't from here, just to get them the introduction to it. To me, that was more of an introductory, this is what go-go is about.
Nah, I can disagree with you on that, and I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to break it because of the simple fact of, for the people that's not from here, they need to see how much of an influence the music has been in pop culture for them to understand. That's just how I feel. Mm-hmm. So when you have your A. Marie's One Things, and you have your Jill Scotts, and you have your Chucky Thompsons, and your Chink Santanas, and these producers that originate from go-go bands, I felt like that's what the documentary should have been about. To explain to people outside of this, outside of our region, to explain to them our culture. Like, this is how great it is. Like, that's like Nelly Houghton here. You're dancing to that song at this Jewish wedding, but you don't know that's a go-go song.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So all the music that these people love outside of this city, and it's our sound and our culture, they don't know it's go-go.
Guess what?
So the TV One documentary.
This is the part of that. They don't care either.
Yeah.
A lot of people know about go-go,
mm-hmm.
but what is making it important? That's the thing. It's like every record that you hear in hip hop makes it important.
Right.
It's striving and moving and going forward. That's why I said perseverance is what's going to make it happen. The more that people are just pushing, doing it, then it becomes important.
But they have to do it on your level, though, bro.
They don't have to do it on my level. They could just do it. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. A lot of times with things with me, it's just do it. Okay, listen, you want to do 20 push-ups a night, right?
Right.
What's wrong with doing 5?
5 ain't enough for a fat boy.
What I'm saying. How about waiting on 20 and then don't do none?
I'm gonna get the 5 in, but in my mind,
if you do a constant 5, you're gonna make some weight drop off. It's like a drip of water dropping on a rock, right? Eventually, that's what's gonna happen to that rock.
The whole rock
is gonna start getting warped in the middle. So that's my point. It's like I just feel like people have given up.
Mm-hmm. I have.
Right? I know you haven't.
Hell nah.
But then guess what? If I had a bag with a bunch of holes in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much water am I gonna hold? But if I patch those holes up, if we can link hands and all agree to keep this thing solid, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be solid. Like, that's my whole thing. A lot of people, they don't care. I can't blame them. Because the ones that care gotta care more. Like it's like any relationship. Sometimes you gotta give that 110, and you might have to be giving it more often than But once you know that that's what it is, and you patching these holes, and we doing what we gotta do, I just feel it like this. A lot of people gotta see stuff. If they don't see it, they don't care. So like what you're doing right here with this helps people care. Yeah. Because it's something being done, So I applaud this, man. Like this platform is needed.
Right.
We having this conversation right here.
That came from Chucky, nigga.
This is what this is about, man. Joe, it take a lot, man, to make stuff happen.
So that mean you got Go-Go Records. You working on some stuff right now, man.
I'm actually working on a documentary that's basically about what you're talking about.
That's great.
But it's done, it's not a documentary on Go-Go. It's Chucky Thompson Presents. It's how Go-Go has affected me. It's really based on my life and the things that I've
accomplished. And that right, that's I think that's what I mean. Like that part right there. Yeah. To make the outside masses understand that part is what's needed. Yeah. This is what our culture. This is how it affected me. It affected me to give you these. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like the camera's getting this. Go-Go music influenced and affected this man to do this. So that's the part that I wanted to see on that documentary.
And you will.
But on your joint. Right. So we in the grants. Right. On the real, that joint ain't really, it was okay, but that joint ain't really do nothing.
But I'm not mad at it.
I am.
Did it. That's all.
It's supposed to be this.
It did it, man.
You know what I'm saying?
We're going to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, shout out.
Broken clock is right twice a day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to say they're a broken clock, but I'm just saying I give credit where credit is due.
So, so you say you ain't gonna tell me who you're working with right now, but is a label is a label situation for this city in the works?
You know what? More work being done in this city is in the works. Okay. I don't have a platform for anything yet, but I just want to see more stuff happening. I may jump in and help people with their thing. I want to lend my talents to trying to make this thing a little bit more cohesive, because I feel like that's the only thing we haven't had. Is for the me's or anybody else that's out here that's doing numbers. Like we need to connect the numbers.
That's what I'm building this platform for. So my next artist, my goal is to, I want to sell out my own shows. You know what I mean?
Well, you're going to have to figure it out now.
Yeah, I'm all, it's already, I mean, I know COVID shutting everything down, but by the time it's over, I'm
well, this is it. This is when you would shed and really build for what's coming next, but we can't act like what's happening ain't happening, man. It's a different day, and, the people that were up are trying to figure it out now. Yeah. So this really levels the playing ground for everybody that's been, waiting for their mark or waiting for their chance to strike or hit. But it's a thinking man's game. So I see that you got your thinking cap on.
Hell yeah.
You ready, Joe. But that's what it's gonna take, man.
I just heard you mention that your sons produce. How they doing it?
Man, they incredible to me because I never knew they even had that in them. Like, I used to always have them riding around with me, and we would have conversations about hip hop, and I'd be playing certain stuff, and they ask me questions about the hip hop I'm listening to versus what they were listening to, and next thing I know, he's doing exactly what I was saying. He's one of the younger guys that has a feel like a Dr. Dre right now. Yeah. Like he loves real heavy, like real hip hop. His name is Trey Thompson. He goes by Deacon. And he's on Facebook. I mean, he's on Instagram. And the Deacon. But but he's retarded with it though. Like I'm afraid. You know what I'm saying? I'm afraid of how much or how far this thing is going to go with him. That I always make sure he stays in a reality that's not just my reality, but I put him in a reality about what's happening. Period. For anybody with his type of talent, taking my stories, not the good parts, but the crazy parts. Because I always feel like you can learn way more from a person's mistakes than you can ever
That's
learn.
the only
from,
way you can
yeah.
the losses.
And I sit with them and we hash it out. I show them all the pitfalls. I show them how dumb, you can be if you got the wrong people around you. How dumb you can be if you're just not focused on your goal before you even get there. Don't wait to sit down with a professional chess player and realize that you are amateur. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You better not sit down yet. You're not ready yet.
And
You can't get mad if he hits you with a 50-man jump and knock all your men off the table, Joe.
Yeah.
You on your head because you should have known better. So I just make sure he understands life. You know what I'm saying? Because really, that's all that any of this is about. It's not about paperwork plays a part, but it's life that plays the biggest part. Because once I had a talk with Hank Shockley, man. That's one of my heroes right there. And he told me early in, he said, "You know what, Chuck? The money always gets spent. Don't give them how much money on the table. 40 million. It's gonna get spent. And guess what you got to deal with? Whatever you sign to get you the 40 million. So be happy about that more than whatever the money is. Because the money's going to get spent, Joe. It's gone. That money gone before you sign that one piece of paper. I don't care how much money is gone. What are you signing, though? What's the agreement? Is it something you can live with? Is it something you can deliver?
So you make sure they're on top of the business first.
You have to understand your life. And what are you willing to do? You don't have to have $40 million if you're not willing to put in $100 million worth of work. It don't make no sense. That makes no sense. So a lot of people look at, the monetary part first. And then they got to live their lives. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And realize that they just made a move instead of making history.
One thing that I feel like this city, this region has been missing is a signature staple studio, like a record plant or a quad or a bass line. Like I feel like we need that type of studio here to bring that type of energy and algorithm here. You know what I'm saying?
Those studios went out with the clubs, the big clubs, because everybody's doing it at home now. You don't have to have that. If you talk about a studio like that, you're talking about overhead, right? You're talking about, the latest, what they call it, state of the art, right? You know how much money you got to put up for state of the art?
So you don't think
just this week.
You don't think that's necessary?
Next week.
You don't think it's necessary?
I think what's mostly necessary is the education. Like, people don't even know what to do with nothing. How you gonna give them something? You know what I mean? It's a different time right now. So for me, I put it to you like this. I know more people get stuff done on their phones than a studio. I know a dude who basically would sit and go ba-da-da-da-da-da and send that in, and then guess what? He got a check and a record coming out. It's just, we had a conversation a little earlier. It's different, man. We didn't have all of the things. If you would have had any of the stuff they got right now,
I'd have been on.
Would you would you would have been on.
I'd have been on.
Joe, you get what I'm saying?
Hey.
So, but this time is different because they'll still have all this stuff and still be complaining.
Yeah.
So then okay.
They do got it sweet now.
If you got all of these free services, that's what I'm gonna call them, free services, and you don't take the time to learn the business. Like right now, what do we have to do to learn the business? All that. Guess what you got to do right now?
Pull out your phone.
Google.
Yeah.
What's production?
Yeah.
Google. What is, like, you don't need to ask your uncle shit no more, Joe. You don't have to ask nobody nothing no more. If you want to know the answer. So it's like, for you to invest in something like that, a big, crazy studio, it has to be a plan in place for that. I don't think for people just having a studio that people gonna start winning. Nah, people gonna get mad. There's gonna be a whole lot of extra stuff. Money ain't gonna happen because it's a different thing happening right now. You know what I'm saying? When I'm out in LA, I've been to houses, production houses, you know, writing rooms. It's not a whole lot right now with that. You know, if it gets to a certain space, you know, most engineers have their own setup now.
In their house.
And you just send them your files and they mix your stuff for you. And you know, the studio, big time studios back in the day spent way more money just on fronting. Because people got 100 girls in there and, you know what I mean? All this craziness in there, and at the end of the day, did you get a hit? This guy over here been in a corner in the kitchen and cranking. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got now. So if you're an executive and you looking at your receipts, right? If you see it, okay, this dude was over here, and I don't have no hits, but this dude over here in the corner in the kitchen, and he only gave me 3 songs for, you know what I mean? How are you thinking after that?
Right.
I don't need that, and that's just where the labels are. It's like there's no more true A&Rs out here that I can definitely say my man Jeff, you know, Her's manager, right? This man found her from, you know, from the beginning and just grinded with her. He took his time and just grinded with her. It's not a lot of people that have that type of stamina to believe in something and ride it all the way through. From the good, the bad. We're not making money this week, but we can still hit the block. Like, it's a lot to go into the ultimate win. And a lot of these people don't, you know, they're not thinking about that. They want instant win.
That's why we sitting right here, right now. And smooth. We all on the same.
Okay. The only thing about the studio thing that should work in DC because it's never been here. But you're absolutely right. Everything is so condensed. Everybody's doing it at home. But if you, Chucky Thompson, right now popped up with a baby hit factor, you don't have to be that many studios. People gonna flock to it like flies on shit.
Yeah, but it won't be people from here.
Exactly.
It's gonna be the Drakes and all them in there.
That's what we need, though.
Yeah, but then again, the Drakes don't need that. They coming for privacy. They're not coming to have Nuck and Ray and them looking and asking a bunch of questions at the water fountain.
A private joint wouldn't be bad. That's what I mean.
It would be private. So does it really serve?
Will it really be effective?
What you're looking for.
You're in a private spot right now.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the privacy part of it. This is a private spot. You're right. It's a private spot, but it's a very, when it's private, it's exclusive. It's a different energy in a private and exclusive spot than it is for a lot of people to be there. So if it's just word of mouth let's say, okay, it's just a word of mouth in the industry studio. So word of mouth in the industry studio, the public don't know about it, just the stars know about it. The people gonna find out.
Are they gonna be happy though? Because they still want me to get in there.
I think they'll still be happy. I think they'll still be happy because it's happening here.
I don't get it. Maybe I do.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I'm gonna be mad if I can't get in there.
No, it ain't gonna do that. But it's a way you can get in there. That's gonna be the motivation for you to figure out. See, that's the thing. In order for you to get in here, you gotta be working, bro. That's it, and that's the problem.
That's why I would rather just promote the working because it doesn't matter what is happening anywhere. Guess what? I see people in the city walking with tuxedos on, going. I don't know where they going. They going somewhere though, right? Right. That's for the people that know. So even though I see that and I'm seeing it, I can't go. I can go put
that's not gonna make you. That's not gonna make you curious to find out where they going.
It's gonna probably listen, man. We talking about Nuck and Ray and them.
Yeah, no,
live over there by Popeyes and them.
But it's not a lot of It's not a lot of.
Those are the people that I know and I embrace. I know that brain.
Yeah, it's a lot of Nuck and
I'd rather just focus on the Nucks and Rays and what they can do for themselves. They be trying to sell them a wolf ticket on something that may not never happen. Everybody's not supposed to be at the party with it. Right, you know what I'm saying? That's why it's exclusive. So it's like I don't want to alienate anybody, but I want to be real with everybody. And guess what? Sometimes I'd rather I make some of my greatest stuff in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Without the big speakers, without any of that. Because to me, it's about, like, music has always been a transference of energy, right? So if I'm, like, sometimes I won't even be able to play nothing if I don't have nothing to play. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't play something.
Right.
Follow me where I'm going with this joke. Inspiration only helps but so much. At some point, if I start a record, all I got to do is finish it, and I got a record. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't have to be inspired. I can just start. If I start, finish. Right? It has nothing to do with inspiration. It's a million people that'll sit back. Man, I don't have a new XP28, and the XP27 I got is all that crap. I know niggas will beat on the wall right now and make a hit right now. Beating on the wall.
Where you at?
Probably sitting in front of them.
Alright.
But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, what's more important? The PX27 that I don't have and being upset about that? Or just be dope. Like, be dope. Period. Step out on that space that don't got... If a person is singing and they're singing in a room that got walls and ceiling, it's going to sound great. Yeah, take that same nigga out there in the middle of the field with no walls, no space, and let him sing that same note and see how it works. He got to work for that note now because there's nothing around him. And that's how I always viewed me stepping out to make something. I'm going to always try to step out on a space that nobody's at. A lot of people aren't built like that. A lot of people like that. What do you do? I'm doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember we rapping, so I'm gonna rap to you.
Yeah, you
I
rap
remember
to me.
one time, man.
Let me know something, bro.
Yo, I was in junior high school. It was 5th period, and we had a project that's been due. It's like half your credit type joint. And I mean, that's as a project. You know, it's the poster board and the da-da-da and all that. And one of my buddies, we sitting on the wall, and we started talking about it, like, man, I'm glad this situation over. We just turned it in. My man was like, what situation? What y'all talking about, right? He said, Joe, you don't have your project? He's like, I ain't even know nothing about it. Now, the class is at 7th period. We coming in the class. The teacher holds up. She said, what idiot did this? And it was a project, right? And somebody Xeroxed the project, Joe, on the paper, Joe. And he had the nerve to turn it in. Like, yeah, I got my project, Joe. We in the same class. The point I'm making is some people don't care, Joe. They gonna just do what everybody else is doing. And it don't even matter. They gonna just do it. Some people do care. They're gonna take that long road and they're gonna wind up winning with it. It's a hard road to stand on your own. It's a hard road to want to be considered the best than to just do stuff. Like, I look at the industry right now, a C is killing the game. If you're talking about the grade system, A, B, C, C is killing the game. There are no A's.
Thank you. That's what I was saying earlier. How do you feel about it?
I mean,
That's
it's
what I
no
was
other
saying
way.
earlier. Yeah.
I
How do
just
you feel
because
about
I know the feeling of an A.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
They never had the experience of seeing a Michael Jackson grow up with them to the level of artistry that he demanded for himself. Who comes close to any of that? Now, I'm not saying that it's not a couple people that's not on their A game, but a strong C is killing the game right now.
So is that acceptable though?
Evidently, it is. Now, when it comes personally to me, it's not flying.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes. It takes that person. Like, that's what I feel needs to be found here in the city.
You about to make me grab a glass and drink. 'Cause this
That person that is not going to take no for an answer. That person who's going to make sure all the T's are crossed and the dots, all of those things are done. A lot of people don't care about that stuff though, because you don't have to. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't happen if you felt that way, or if I felt that way. So that's it for me, man. I'm just, you know, I'm down for the struggle. You know, I'm down for the for what makes you know, history. It's not an easy fight though.
7 artists. I was close my last artist. I was extremely close. Had the paper I was about to sign. My art we had about to sign the Rock Nation. We was ready.
Right.
This when Benny Pugh was the president of Rock Nation.
Okay.
Took us out to lunch, flew us to New York. Took us out to it was beautiful. Right. That Hove, say it was up the Hove, up Rock Nation, was doing our thing. Everything was pretty. I was like, oh, hard work finally paid off. Boom, blew up. Back at square one.
Am I problem with that?
Am I still on pace? Am I still on track? This for the people out there.
There's no problem with that. Listen, man, you know what the rule is. You get knocked down 7 times.
Yeah.
Get up 8, man. You know what I'm saying? It's that perseverance I was talking about. Because that 8th time could be the one time it actually lined up and worked. A lot of people don't have that stamina.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for you to even still take a chance with it,
I got to, bro. I gotta keep going.
That to me sends a signal to all of the people that, you know, when it finally happens, how they gonna feel?
Right.
Because you're not stopping what you're doing based off of what another man did or didn't do.
Oh, no.
You still believing in what
Hell no, I got
you feel, and you know, certain things is waking you up at night.
Yeah.
You know, or keeping you up at night. So I just say keep it going, man. Just don't, you know, don't give up. That's the only way that it can really stop working. You know what I mean?
This conversation has been extremely, this is the conversation I've been wanting to have. You know what I mean? Talk to you for, because I remember the first time the Bonnie Rash situation.
Okay, yes sir, yes sir.
And we sat down in an apartment. And I was like,
K, man, that's my man.
I sat down in an apartment and I was like,
Big Ted.
yeah, Chucky Thompson. And
yes sir.
to be sitting right here right now getting this advice from you and talking to you, brothers, it means a lot. This means a lot.
No,
I appreciate
listen,
you.
man. I appreciate the honor of
You know what I mean?
thinking
Yeah.
about me in that
Oh,
light
of course.
to come and sit and rap.
I've
to
been
you.
bugging E for a message. I ain't gonna stop bugging you till I sit down with Chucky.
Yeah, listen, man.
You know what I'm
Listen,
saying?
when you know certain people, it
Yeah.
ain't even about all that. Cause as soon as he called me, as soon as he mentioned it, it was done.
I appreciate
Just
you.
on the
bro.
strength of
I
our
appreciate it.
relationship. So you got good people around you.
So we about to wrap this up. Y'all know what it is, man. Another episode of Why Trust the Bus Driver. I had to sit down with the DC legend, man.
No, so why don't you trust the bus driver?
Yeah, I mean,
What's that?
that's what. Yeah, why won't you? I'm
Yeah.
connected. You know what I mean? I'm
You
plugged
making me
in.
want to drive a bus right now, just so you can trust the bus driver. I may crash the jump, but I can give you some good advice.
I appreciate this conversation, man.
No, it's
Thank
all
you for
love,
sitting
man.
down with me. It's all love, man.
Yeah, it's all
Appreciate
love.
it.
Trust. Yeah.
Catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.